welcome to part 5 of how to build a buffet in Hutch. I tell you, I am looking forward to getting your feedback and you know, your insight on things, and I really want to thank everybody for their positive responses on Google+, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. Thank you so much, and I'm hoping you're enjoying this as much as I'm enjoying making it. And you know, this has inspired me to make a few more bigger projects. I'm thinking about chest of drawers next, or something along the lines. I don't know how long it's going to be before my next video. I'll try to make it, you know, pretty soon. But I really need to get some drums out and caught up on them. So let's go ahead and continue on and get close to wrapping this thing up. Alright guys, the part that is inevitable in any type of woodworking, sanding the parts. We've got our door pieces and parts set here, and I'm going to get them sanded up. I'll probably sand up to a 220, and then we'll get some stain on these panels to pre-finish the panels before we can glue them into the frame. And what I did to kind of make it easier to sand the profile of these panels is, on one of my older sample pieces, which has the profile cut into it, went ahead and cut it down and cleaned it up and turned it into a matching sanding block for these raised panels. So now all I have to do is take a piece of sandpaper, wrap around it, and then I can sand these panels into their shapes. And I have one that matches the profile on the rails and stiles, and then I've got, you know, a combination of hand sanding and a random orbit sander. I tell you, that little jig, that coping sled jig, just worked like a charm. I have been looking at one from Rockler, and I love Rockler by all means, but I thought that's something that I could probably make. And it was just a couple of pieces of hardboard, toggle clamp. I made the handle out of walnut, and I made it the contour to my hands, and then some scrap wood oak. If I have, you know, the clamp I had to pay for, so about $7 in that jig, and it works like a champ. The router fence, I am so happy that I took the time yesterday to build it. It just performed great, outstanding, and I know it's just a fence, but it has all the features that I needed my fence to have. My fence just wasn't adequate, so that's very good. Once I get these panels sanded and door frame sanded and glued together, then we're going to go ahead and assemble the doors and install them temporarily. Get them installed, get all the screw handles and stuff, and then we're going to go and sand everywhere on the project that needs to be sanded. I think I'm going to sand up to a 220, and then we're going to go ahead and get a coat of stain on. I'll probably show a little bit of the staining process and stuff, but I'm not going to go into a lot with it. It's pretty simple. And the general finish is honey stain, is a real pretty color, and you'll see it on this panel. I am going to show you the staining process of this panel, and then I'm going to show you the end result, the before and after, kind of the comparison. Just note that, you know, the changes that we made in the plans, and you know, it's a great little project, something to take on if you're interested. Like I said, it's only 5 foot tall, and it's just a pretty little hutch. These added little features that we're doing, the molded profile edge banding, the double arch on the 2 rails, the one on the top of the hutch and the bottom of the buffet. And these doors are really going to make this piece really stand out, and then when it gets a finish on it, then that's outstanding. But we're getting ready to wrap this project up, and if I missed any steps, or if you guys are curious about anything, you can always, you know, ask me questions. You can reach me at Laney at asimpledesignofocala.com, and you know, I'm happy to answer any questions, or you can leave a comment, you know, below the videos anytime, and I'll get back to you and reply always. But let me get these panels sanded up. I just finished making my sanding blocks, like I said, and we'll start to pre-finish the panels, and I'll show you that process. Okay guys, I got all the parts sanded up to 220 for the doors, and I took some compressed air, actually the blower side of my vacuum, my little shop vac, to blow off, you know, some of the sanding dust and everything. And now what I simply want to do is take a little mineral spirits and wipe off any of the dust, you know, that would be remaining, that you know, would interfere with my finish, and just kind of clean up the parts. And just and the mineral spirits, it evaporates quickly, and it'll help point out some, you know, any issues that you have as far as any glue that you spells or spots that you might have missed or overlooked and didn't get with the sanding. And it kind of gives you a sample of what this piece is going to look like finished. And let me see if I can show you here. It's going to be real pretty doors. So I want to do that for all my pieces. It helps remove the dust and everything off of them. And then we'll get ready to stain these panels before we glue them into their frame and pre-finish them. Now, when it comes to these panels and everything, the end grain, the ends of these panels, will tend to, because that's end grain, and end grain tends to absorb more of the stain than anything else. And what I don't want is this panel to be, you know, a light honey color, and then the end grain to be darker and really stick out like a sore thumb. So what I'm going to do is take some simple pre-stain conditioner, and I'm going to wipe it on. You just wipe it on, let it sit for a few minutes, and then wipe off any excess. And then you apply your stain, you know, within 2 hours. Is basically the factory instructions for the pre-stain sealer. But I'm going to wipe some pre-stain sealer on that end grain area so that it will even out with the rest of the door. And I'll show you more on that in just a second. Get all these parts cleaned up and wiped down. Find a clean part of this rag. It's been a fun little project to make, and it's been a fun project to kind of alter and, you know, make my own. That's the great thing about woodworking. You can take anything and get an idea, or, you know, I mean, even stuff that's not made of wood. Like Steve Ramsey, you know, he and I talk, and some of the inspiration he gets is, you know, whenever he's out and about in the town, he'll look at something, and if it's not made of wood, he'll think, I wonder how I can make that of wood. And you can do that with anything, and that's the great thing I love about woodworking. If you have an imagination, you can create some really amazing stuff. And if a project is already laid out for you, such as this project and these plans, you can go by the plans like I've stated all along, or you can do something a little bit different to make it your own. My differences for this project were the raised panels versus the flat panels. The profiled edge banding. It gives the top of the buffet and the top of the hutch a little bit of definition, a little bit of style. And then the rails, the top rail of the face frame with the double arch, and the bottom rail of the buffet face frame with the double arch matching. And that's my little differences. I'm adding feet to mine, little adjustable feet for levelers, little levelers. And I added some additional supports and blocks and stuff like that. And that's about it. I followed everything in the plans, except for when it came to the custom parts, such as these doors and everything. I had to determine the measurements based on what I wanted. And these doors, as I said earlier, they're a 1/2 inch overlay door. So which means they will overlay the face frame by 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. And that, once you have that, you determine your overlay, what you want, and lay out those measurements, then the rest of it falls into place. Then you can determine the measurements for your rails, the measurements for your stiles, and the measurements for your panels. Like I said, you can do flat panel, you can do raised panel. Pretty much anything you want. It's yours to do anything you want with. One more piece. All right. Set that aside. Set that aside to air out. Okay. We're going to be using General Finishes oil-based honey stain, and it's a pretty little color. And let's see, I need some. We'll find it. There it is. I'm going to be using a pre-stain wood conditioner for oil-based. It's an oil-based wood conditioner for oil-based stains, and I'm going to put that on the ends of my panels to help even out that finish. Just going to take a rag, and you can apply this conditioner over the whole door. It's made for, the blotch-prone woods and everything. Your pines and your birches and different stuff. But you can use it on your oaks, and you can use it pretty much on everything. I'm not going to do the whole door. I'm just going to do the end grain, because the end grain tends to absorb much more stain than the rest of the door. All right. That just needs a few minutes to soak in. So we'll let it sit for a few minutes, and then we'll get started. Alright guys, when it comes to finishing the panels, we're just going to brush on. Let me get something to mix this with. You want to make sure that your stain is, you stir it up real well. And I'm going to take a foam brush and we're going to put on an even coat . Over the entire panel. And I just keep wiping it on to level it out. The longer you leave the stain sit on, the darker your results. In the general finishes instructions, like I said, I haven't used this very much, but it calls for you to apply the stain and then turn right around and wipe it off. So that's what I'm going to do. But I'm just going to make sure I have nice, even coat. And when you wipe it off, you want to make sure that you wipe off all the streaks. And just to give you an idea of the honey stain, let it sit in just for a minute. I'll do a sample wipe here. Make sure you change your rag and get a clean spot as you're wiping, so you get all that excess stain. You don't leave none behind to sit on there. And the honey just gives it a nice golden tone. But if you notice, you see how the end grain blends in nicely with the rest of the panels? That's what that pre-stain conditioner is for. Alright guys, we're getting ready to glue up these panels. Now when you glue up the raised panel doors, you do not glue the panel in place. The panel needs to be able to float inside that frame. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you're just gluing on this tenon area and in here, and you want to make sure that none of it gets into this channel to where that it could potentially glue that panel in place and not allow it to move, because as it expands it'll just blow your door apart. So you want to just be careful when you're gluing this up. Make sure that you're just getting enough glue on there to hold this frame together, and not over gluing, because you don't want the squeeze out to glue the panels in. But we'll get it glued up. And I said this earlier in the video, this little paint brush, this little synthetic dollar store paint brush that's similar to that synthetic one that you can get at Rockler or wherever. Man, this thing is a champ. It is. Thank you, Steve Ramsey. Because it's absolutely perfect. That glue dries up in there and you just pull it right out of the bristles and you're good to go. Okay guys, I've got the buffet sitting up on the table saw, because like I said, I can't set up my workbench right now. I got it laying on its back because we're going to go ahead and mount these doors and the hardware, install the hardware. And then everything is temporary. Once I get it all mounted, then of course they've got to come off, you know, so the finish can go in there. But I want to get them mounted, and then I think, you know, once I get the doors on, we're going to wrap up this video. I'm not going to show you the staining of this project or, you know, the clear coating. This is basically the building, and the building is complete once we get the doors on, and then it's just a matter of putting in the back panels. They're 1/4 inch back panels, and they fit right into the groove. I'll do a follow-up video, a little short one, once I get the stain and finish on this project, and just show you the end result and everything. But right now, as far as the building of it, we are at its completion once I get these doors on. And I really appreciate you guys, all the response and all the views for part 1, and I hope you continue on, you know, with this video, and I hope you have enjoyed this build so far. And once we get the doors on, I'll get it all set up, and we'll do a final overview of the piece, and we'll call it a day. And then tomorrow I have to work out of town, so I won't be able to get to the finish tomorrow, and I want to get this video out by tomorrow afternoon. I'm going to work real hard to get it out by tomorrow afternoon. So that's why I want to go ahead and wrap it up here, because basically the building is done. There's nothing left to do except for put the back panel in. I got to put the little foot blocks in for the adjustable feet. It's real simple. It's just going to be for, you know, probably 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch blocks that the feet mounts will screw into, and just little things like that. And then I'm going to get the finish on when I'm back in town on Wednesday. I'm going to get the finish on and get the clear coat going, and like I said, I'll do a follow-up video. So here we go. The hinges, and let me get everything I'm going to need here. When it comes to the placement of the hinges, on the style, it's really, I mean, it's kind of up to you. I don't think there's any type of rule of where a hinge can go. And if there is, somebody correct me. But normally, I put my hinges about, from the bottom of the hinge, about 1.5 inches in. From the top of the rail and the bottom of the rail, 1.5 inches in is where the bottom of my hinge starts. So what I want to do is use my larger rule for this. On the top of the bottom rail here, I'm going to set my mark, my 1.5 inch mark, right even with this rail, and then I can just butt my hinge right up to it. And I'm going to do the same thing for the top one. So with that, in place, I can go ahead do the top one. And now when it comes to the placement of the door, the hinges, of course, align the door exactly a 1/2 inch overlay on both the stile rails. What we need to be concerned is that we are in our right position on the 2 rails. So what I'm going to do is move this out of the way temporarily. And I am going to take my marking gauge, set to a 1/2 inch, and I'm just going to make a little mark there at the bottom. I know that if I get this mark lined up with the bottom of the frame, my top will be fine. Okay, and now with that in place, I can go ahead and get my measurement from the bottom of the door to the bottom of the hinge. And this is how I mount the hardware. I mean, you may have an easier way to do it, but what I do is once I get it marked and everything, then I can go ahead and screw the hinge to the doors, and then place the doors in, and then screw the hinge into the frame. Alright guys, well that completes the build for the buffet and hutch. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot of information. Be sure to download the plans from the Newfoundland woodworker.com and try to build one of your own. And remember the changes that we made. I changed the face frames and added a bottom rail. I added some overlay raised panel doors. I got a decorative edge banding on the top of the buffet and hutch. I temporarily have the back panel attached. I want to go ahead and get everything sanded. I'm going to take the back panel off, get everything sanded, make sure that everything is nice and smooth. Go ahead and finish staining all the parts. Take the doors off, finish staining all the parts. And then we'll go ahead and get a clear coat on this thing and it will be done. I'll do a follow-up video, like I was saying earlier. I'll do a follow-up video with regards to the finished product and everything. But I'm going to end, the how to build video here. It's just a great little project, and I hope you guys enjoyed following along. Be sure to visit my website at www.asimpledesignofocala.com. If you have any questions, you can reach me at Laney at asimpledesignofocala.com. And if you happen to be on Facebook, like me at facebook.com/asimpledesignofocala. See you in the next video.